Hitman 2-3, this is Hitman 2-2, over.
Hitman 2-2, you're coming in weak and unreadable. Try cleaning your handset. Try again.
Hitman 2-3, this is Hitman 2-2, how you read me now?
2-3 has you loud and clear. Out.
Hitman 2-3, this is Hitman 2-2, over.
Roger, I got your... Please fill me in on your situation. Alright. Calm down, buddy. We're gonna be down here. We're not gonna lie. Watch it. Don't yell. The second foot's coming down. And if nobody can do it, these guys can do it. So just relax. Coming down. Keep coming down. Hold it right there.
Good to see you. I know.
So long.
I know. Just
finally.
I know. All
We're
those
here.
years that
We're going to.
haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to get everything organised so that we can have a long chat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There's so much to catch up on, isn't there?
52 years, Millie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is 52. It's more than 52 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we moved to Seymour in 71.
71.
Yeah, March 71.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so,
So long.
I know. It's just... Sue, it's been such a fun time, hasn't it?
Yes.
So good to catch up on
At
old
last,
times.
at
Yeah,
last.
and
Yeah.
just to see the tanks going, and
Yeah.
it's just been an incredible...
And the boys have done quite a bit too.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Getting together, I think they've remembered everything.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
All that too.
Yeah, and to go out and see the tank that they're actually on in Vietnam is going to be incredible.
That's up at Ralph's place, yeah.
Yeah.
We've done that, so we're going to head up that way.
Yeah, I think it'll be emotional as well.
Yes, very.
Lots of memories will come back.
Yes, and they'll have a good time doing all that, you know.
Yeah.
I think they're looking forward to it, you know,
Yes,
with
yes,
excitement,
yes.
I think.
But it's nice for us girls to get together and just spend
Yeah.
time together as well.
And more important, I think,
Yeah, yes.
us girls to get together.
Because we went through a lot together.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Years and years of it being dragged from one end of the country to the other.
That's true, yeah. It's been a interesting ride. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah, and we lost contact for so long too.
Yes, we did, because you move around too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And the family grows, and so they expand.
Yeah, and you have your own life,
Yeah.
and
But then we've come back together.
Yeah,
quite good,
thankfully to
Yeah.
all of this documentary and everything. It's just,
It's going to be wonderful.
it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see them all with their tank.
Yes, I think George is a bit apprehensive about driving it, but I think he'll get in and do it.
Oh, he'll be right.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to have troubles in Vietnam,
He
so I'm
did
sure.
too. He did too.
So I'm sure it'll be the same. But anyway,
And Vicky's coming tonight too, so
yeah,
there'll be three of us together again.
that'll be fantastic. Yeah.
So they should be here about 7-ish.
Yep.
And then tomorrow we're going over to my place to do the official interview
Mm-hmm.
with Lou of the Wive's time.
I think that's really important.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Particularly for other wives that are
Yes,
out there
yes,
too, that
yes.
have gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
So we'll be heading out there tomorrow for a ploughman's lunch, I hope.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we probably should go and see what the guys are up to and go and have some dinner.
Dinner?
Yeah.
When
That'd be
Vicky
great.
turns up.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go.
You ready? Yep.
Here's Vicky.
Oh, Vicky.
Oh, Vicky.
Hello. Hello. Good to see you. Oh,
We're going to go and have dinner now.
yeah.
And the boys
Yes.
are over there already started to
Yes.
drink.
I thought you said 7.
We did.
We did. But
We
they
did.
started earlier.
Yeah.
I've got to check in.
That's all right.
All right,
Okay.
this way.
We'll see. I was going to say we'll do this.
Wasn't that good time?
Yeah, you have to catch up with them.
I've lost my husband.
I think it's parking.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah. The guys will be surprised to see you because we thought you'd be a bit later.
Let's go.
It's pretty busy.
This way.
It's pretty busy out there, isn't it? So, how was your trip down?
We've been over at Kylie's.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And radiation went to 5 o'clock.
Oh, no.
It's working out well.
Yeah. That's good you turned up.
Here's the other two. They've
Yeah.
already started.
They've already had. Here they are.
Oh, hello. There's people, look.
How are you?
Where's the old man?
Well, I was walking you to... You're on.
I know that. I know you. So where's Pedro?
Parking the car.
Serious, you're going to lead that? Yeah, I'll lead that one.
Dinner's getting cold here to stop you.
I can't believe you did that. That's how much better now. I can't. That's all
Come on, Charlie. Radio silence over.
That's just experience and practice. And, yeah, I try to stay fit and go to the gym and all that. But
Hey, Pedro. You know when you hit the beach?
the bit, yes. Yes. It'll make me feel guilty.
No, George and I got a different version of it.
Okay.
Because I can remember being inside the turret with whoever the operator was. There was no Billy Heist and there was no George. We didn't know where they'd gone. We didn't even know we hit with
I know
bees.
where they were.
It
Lighting
wasn't.
the bloody fire. We went into some banana leaves and banana trees and got some leaves in and started a fire. We looked over on one of the tanks, and one of the guys, I can't remember who it was standing on the transmission deck to the back with the hot air coming up. So we decided, oh, what a good idea. So we went back. But meanwhile, you got stung and an Australian soldier got stung.
An engineer got stung. And he collapsed.
Hello. It's been ages. Yes, okay. Yes, well, welcome to the house.
They're all coming. They're coming.
Come in. Where's the other boy? At the back. Ta-da!
Good. Long time I see you. Vicky.
Hello, mate. How are you? You again? Yeah. How are you? Good. Hello, Miss Vicky. How are you?
Hi,
Good to
how
see
are you?
Good,
Nice
thank
to see you.
Yeah, you too. Here comes Uncle Pedro. Hiya, mate. Welcome to the house again.
Don't say that. Isn't it? It's lovely to see you. Come on in.
What's your feet?
Yeah, you can have mine.
I might go back and get a jacket. I'll go inside first.
No, just go in the house. It doesn't matter. Only a small house.
Well, you got to do the housework.
Shoes off?
No, that's all right. Lance, an old house.
How is everybody?
Okay. Come in.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks so much for being here and having this chat with me today. We might just start with you all introducing yourselves, please.
I'm Judy and I'm Mick's wife.
And I'm Vicky and I'm Peter's wife.
And I'm Sue Ellen and I'm George's wife.
Thank you. So, you know, we were at Matt's the other day and we did some filming there. What do you think it's been like for the boys on this journey so far?
Excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took them back to when they were 19.
And just the thrill of being together in a tank.
Yeah.
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 And seeing a tank
Yeah.
after so long.
And that night, did they talk to you about it? About what that was like for them, or did you
little
just?
bits here and there.
Yeah.
It was
Not,
just.
yeah.
It was just sort of.
I think they were
spasmodic
still-
type thing. They were still
Yeah.
processing.
Still on a high.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
processing it.
Yeah. And when the idea of, or the prospect of this whole documentary came up, how did they respond to that?
Mick was, I think he was like, oh, why does someone want to do this about me? But in the end, he was looking forward to it, just being in that Vietnam situation again, I think. Yeah.
I think they just needed to be together again. They realised that. Just after 50 so many years, they needed to be together again, and the tank was the draw card. And they found it. Yeah.
I think Peter was excited to do it, but Peter was still had the army career after Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about Vietnam, because I'm interested, when you discovered yourselves that your partner was about to be deployed there, how did you feel?
I didn't know very much about Vietnam, which is kind of strange, but you're kind of insulated a little bit over here. So I didn't know very much about Vietnam until he was going.
It was more like the last minute. That's it, they're off. They've finished their training and they're going. And that was, okay, what's going to happen now, you know?
So you didn't really know that much. You weren't.
No.
There was nothing to be too concerned about yet.
I think my parents were concerned because they wouldn't let me get engaged before he went. And I think they were worried that he wouldn't come back. But I hadn't even thought of that.
No, you don't.
No.
No, Peter and I weren't together, but we were still good friends. He came and saw me before he left to go to Vietnam, and I didn't see him after that for 10 years because we both married other people.
Yes.
And,
Okay, so in Judy and Sue Ellen's case, you were together, even though you were apart. What was that like for you, being apart from?
It was very worrying.
Yeah, and it was difficult, very difficult, because you're getting letters, but then the letters got held up by the wharfies on the wharves, and there were people, if they didn't get a letter, they would actually put themselves in danger of dying. And it was frustrating here where you're getting a letter knowing they weren't getting yours, even though you wrote every day. It was really tough.
That was the frustration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether they got your letter or not, even though you wrote one every second or third day or whatever. But their letters didn't come in.
And your letters, were they just about what you were up to, and
Yeah.
were you also sending little?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I sent her. George's mother was very good. She did it during World War II, and you send it in a packet and you get a box of goodies together. We made a fruit cake and put it in a tin, and then we wrapped it in calico and sewed it in, and then we put it all in the box with cheese. We put cheese, believe it or not. The little triangle cheeses in those days, you could send them in a little carton, tiny little carton. And the boys would love that. And dry biscuits and all that sort of thing, and send it across. George used to put it out on the back of the tank, didn't he? He told us the story.
Mick I used to do Christmas cakes, and
yeah.
he liked these certain little cigars,
Yeah.
and we had a shop at home, so I used to send them over. So you were always sending little parcels over, and because our postage was free.
Yes.
So
And were they telling you much about what
No.
their lives were
No,
like
because
there?
their letters were censored too,
Yes.
don't forget.
So what were they able to tell you in their letters?
Not terribly much.
No, they'd just talk about, George got the tank bogged or just
Yeah.
basic things like that. So we didn't really know what was going on. I do remember one of Mick's mates was killed not long after he got there, and I remember him telling me that, and then I looked it up in the papers. I had to find it in the papers. But no, they didn't. No, well, they weren't allowed to tell us
They
anything.
weren't, no, they weren't allowed. I'd listen to the ABC. They would have, at midnight onwards, they would have contacts that were on in Vietnam and what particular squad or tank group or whatever, whoever was involved in that particular contact, or whether it was just infantry or something else. But they'd broadcast it, but they wouldn't tell you terribly much. But you'd know, oh, well, if it was our tank group, we knew that was there. Yeah.
I think I've learnt more since Mick's been out of the army and going to reunions, because he did 20 years in the army and I still didn't know an awful lot. I think I've learnt more
Probably, yeah.
since.
And while they were doing their tours of duty, was there controversy back home about Australia's involvement in the Vietnam War?
It was terrible,
Yeah,
terrible.
particularly Sydney was worse. I think Sydney and Melbourne, I think, were worse.
How did that impact on you and your...
I wasn't quite involved into it because I lived with my aunt out at Ingleside, so it wasn't quite in the city or in the areas where these people were complaining or whatever. So I never really went that way. But if you heard it on the news or something like that, it was upsetting. Because if your husband's over there and he's got killed and these people don't seem to understand that,
I didn't tell anyone, my boyfriend or my fiance, because we got engaged halfway through. I didn't tell anyone he was in Vietnam because of the backlash I would get for him being in Vietnam.
Did you see that kind of backlash?
People were just so negative about it, and they would, if you mentioned it, they'd go, oh, we shouldn't be there, and they're killing people and that sort of thing. So you just didn't say anything. You just kept it to yourself.
that's right. Yeah.
And did that tour of duty go quickly for you, or did you feel like it was a very long
It was
time?
a very long time. I stopped eating. George's mother was very good. She stood me in front of a mirror and said, look at yourself, you've lost so much weight. Do you think he's going to like seeing you like that when he comes back? I couldn't eat. I couldn't control the stress, I suppose it was.
I agree. And so when they finally came home, what was that like?
It was a bit of everything, really. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, I wonder what he's like,
Yeah, it was very different.
Or, would he recognise me as I was, sort of thing.
But there was elation and...
Oh, yes, excitement.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
elation, and I think there's intrepidation as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because we really didn't know what these people were going to be like when they came home.
Yeah.
So what were they like?
Well, we got married and went straight to Puckapunyal. And so Mick was still in here, well, him and George did a couple of courses because they weren't doing tanks, but he still was back in his tanks, and he was really relied on his mates a lot.
Yeah, they
more
still
so
stuck
than
together.
Yeah,
They-
more so than
yeah,
us.
They did. They stuck together.
We were kind of there, and I think it's because their mates had been through so much together, and they trusted their mates and had relied on them for 12 months. So we were kind of just there.
We were just, yes, on the fringe sort of thing. They'd sit and talk in the garage, your place. Cards, I think it was.
Yes.
Beers as well,
Yeah.
But that was what they used to do there,
Yeah.
in their leisure time
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
And how did you feel about that?
I was a little bit hurt, yeah.
Yeah.
But we learnt to pull back and just give them time to come round,
And
which
we-
they did.
And we also relied on each other a lot.
did.
And even in all the years that Mick was in the army, the wives really supported and relied on each other an awful lot, which built really tight
It
friendships.
did. Yeah, yeah.
That's really lovely. And so, apart from that, did you notice any other sort of changes about them that were, maybe, physically, or their demeanour, or just, their emotional responses to things?
Yeah, they were a little bit more confident than what they were when they went, I'd say. But as to what went on here in Australia after then, I don't think they liked what they saw when they got back.
Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Well, I don't well, we were stuck at Puckapunyal, so we didn't really get involved in
No,
it
we
out
were
there.
insulated.
But they knew it was out there, and I think they were hurting. And that took them longer to come round, I think. Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to join an RSL because they weren't.
I remember
his-
Peter, he told me he went to join the RSL at home, and he was asked what war he was in, and he said, I've just come back from Vietnam, or been home for a couple of years, and he went to join it, and they told him it wasn't a war. And so Peter basically told the RSL where they could put their club, and he never ever joined an RSL club.
And then there's George, done the
Yes.
turnaround.
Yes,
And he's-
and a lot of the veterans have now.
Yeah.
But for a long time they were very bitter about how things were here. And as far as Mick's concerned, his mental downward fall that I noticed, and I sent him for counselling, was mid-80s. And I just said, you need to go and get help.
And so, what? How did that, that culmination of behaviour where you suddenly decide you've got to get help? What was it that you were witnessing?
It was aggression, and he was just on his own, more or less, and he just wasn't coping with anything really. So even with work he was starting to not cope, and that was also too because when they came back everybody was Vietnam vets, but as time went on in the army or in the forces they were non-veterans, and so they didn't understand. They felt like they weren't understood.
Right. So they weren't understood, they weren't accepted, but also there must have been some trauma from their war experience that was also playing out.
Yes. Because there was several mates didn't come back.
I remember
That's
Peter
really-
when he finished his army career. He was in the army for 37 years, and he'd only not long joined the army when he went to Vietnam. He fell apart when he finished his career. And I noticed, and how he coped with that was he did his own therapy. He built our house out in the land and owned a builder, and he worked through his whatever was going with him, building his home, our home.
So Vicky, you say that he did his own therapy, and Judy, you
Yeah.
said that it was quite a few years before he even, Mick even received any counselling. When the boys returned from Vietnam, were they offered any type of support at all?
No,
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
nothing.
Nothing.
So really it was up to you
It was up-
and their families
Yep.
and their
Probably,
friends to
yes, it
support them?
was.
And there was nothing available. Like when I sent Mick down to St Kilda in the mid-80s, VVCS had only just started, and even then they didn't understand about Vietnam at all. So there was nothing. They came home, and for the national servicemen it was probably even tougher because they came home at night in civvies, got off the plane as though nothing had happened and just go back to your normal life.
And how did that make you feel?
It was tough.
We didn't really know what to do, really,
No.
sometimes.
No.
You
And
just went on day after day,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And it was tough seeing the guys not accepted.
Yeah. Yes, each Anzac Day they tried to go and march down in Melbourne, and that wasn't nice.
So when you say they tried, what
Well,
do
they
you-
went.
but they weren't allowed.
No, they marched, but they weren't accepted, you know, I think.
And then there was always the worry of those that were the university students that used to protest. There was always that worry of them spitting on them.
Yeah, or something nasty.
Yeah.
Did that actually happen to
Yes.
any of
No.
your...
No, not that I know of.
But I know of people that it did happen to.
That's terrible. So what has, since Vietnam, I mean, what have your lives been like? I mean, can you give me a sense of just some of the highs and lows of you know, living with these men who had these experiences?
Go, Vicky, you're first.
Me. Well, with Peter, he used to just get out there and he'd be building the house, doing what he was doing, and of course I worked then, and all of our children had grown up by the time he got out of the army, and I used to just let him go. You know, and Peter never ever talked about Vietnam. I remember saying to him one day, "You guys were idiots. He's sitting on a tank and he's got all these Vietnamese children on the tank, and the machine gun is loaded." I said, "How did you know they weren't from the other side?" And he said, "Oh, we knew. They were our kids." And I said, "But how could you trust? How did you really didn't know?" I said, "You're mad." but you know, I just let Peter, he sorted himself out. Even now, he gets very emotional, like the 50th anniversary that we've just done. He gets very emotional on Vietnam Vets Day. He looks forward for it. I remember his first Vietnam Vets Day. I forget where we lived, but I remember he dumped me and our youngest child at his brother's place. I didn't see him for 3 days. And he was supposed to come back that night.
Yeah.
Just catching up with all the mates.
Yeah.
It was good.
And did George and Mick ever talk about their war experiences?
Not terribly much.
No, you mostly heard about it when they were talking with each other or
Yeah,
other
together.
veterans.
Yeah.
So they never spoke to us about it.
Even now there's things coming out that we didn't know.
Yes.
I know when Peter talks what he does say about Vietnam, it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything awful, but it was just about the children that they used to give their chocolates to and biscuits to. And he used to say, "We know which kids we can trust." So, you know, it was all the good stuff, no bad stuff.
I know Mick's suppressed so much because the guys will talk about things and he'll go, "I don't remember that." So a lot of his is all still deep down.
Same with George. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Last night was an issue there.
Yeah.
Because they had things mixed up with who went what where.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, they haven't got this straight. I think they've suppressed it so far, they
Yes.
can't remember what exactly was the story.
So being together again for them has been a really positive experience.
Yes,
They're
definitely.
able to reminisce about what happened, and you're able to hear some things you've not heard before.
That's right. We're learning again.
We'll never stop learning about Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, is there anything else you'd like to say about being the wife of a Vietnam veteran?
Well, we never had support, you know, coming through. Even on the removals, you know, every 2 to 3 years, oh, we've got to move again, you know, interstate. Pack up the kids and go.
And it was really tough, like even not just a veteran, but as an army wife as a whole, is that you weren't allowed to say anything. So if there was something wrong with your house, you were like, well, you just live with it.
I did that once or twice in Kapuka.
Yeah.
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 And Yeah, got told to be quiet. Yeah.
I know. So it's and then coming back from Vietnam, everyone was in the same boat. So everyone that lived around us and all our friends, all their husbands were Vietnam vets. So at that stage we had the support of we supported each other.
Each other, yeah, even in the food situation, because the pay wasn't good either, you know. And if you had 2 or 3 children, it wasn't good to support yourselves on the army pay. We'd all have to get jobs as well as look after children at the same time. And so we all clubbed together and we'd go down the markets and get a whole side of sheep. Remember that? And we'd chop it up, who had what bits, and, you know, the whole side of sheep to share with the family in Seymour.
Yeah.
And while, you know, you said that generally speaking they have a positive attitude towards having been in Vietnam, what do you think were some of the really difficult impacts of that experience for them? As, you know, as wives of observing them and living with them, what were the hardest things for you?
I know for them it was not knowing who the enemy was, because the enemy and the friendly fire all looked the same. So that was tough. They didn't know who they were fighting.
So the uncertainty of just not knowing what would happen. What do you think, Vicky?
Well, I didn't know much about Vietnam. I just knew Peter went to Vietnam. And I used to see his mother quite often because we had a thing that we'd visit, even after we'd broken up, we'd visit each other's families. And we did that for years, for the whole time. And that's how Peter and I got back together. He went to visit my parents. I used to just say to his mum, "Have you heard from Peter? How's he going?" And she'll say, "He's good, love. He's good." So that was it for me, because I knew nothing about Vietnam at all. I just knew he was over in Vietnam.
And what about George Llewellyn? How was it for him, do you think?
No, he came back quite okay, sort of, you know, in his own way. He suppressed a lot. And he stayed in and worked his way through. And we were brought down in 1988 for the bicentenary. He was in charge of the officers' mess at Randwick and Vic Barracks. So that was a big thing. But we had to pack the family up and come back down again, packing up, to Vic Barracks and do this thing with Charles and Di coming through and celebrations and whatnot and everything. So that was a big thing. But I think he threw himself into his work, and that's what brought him out. You know, that's what got him through. I think, like, you know, he loved doing that kind of thing, all the entertaining.
I'd have to say that's what saw Peter through, because Peter was, he always said to me he wanted to be RSM of 2CAV, and he said, once I get there I'll get out. And once he got that, he was offered another job, which was better, so he took it. And then he finally got to the RSM of the Army, and he said, "This is it, this is the last one." He was offered to go to an officer, and he said, "Why would I want to start at the bottom of the tree again? I'll never get to the top again. No, I'm done." So he did what he wanted to do, and so I think that got him through with his goals of what he wanted to do. And I think that helped Peter a bit, staying in the military for as long as what he did. And just having the social contact with the guys every couple of years when the reunions got started. And getting together, and the guys would be off talking about whatever, and the wives would just get together and go and do whatever and just leave the guys alone. Yeah, off you go. See you later. We're going shopping. And we'd go out for tea with everybody. But I think that's what got a lot of the vets through that stayed in the Army, was their jobs. They all had different jobs.
They did.
And
So in a way, you all had to rely on yourselves and one another to get through this. What do you think could have been done differently and better that you would have all benefited from in terms of how the boys were received when they came home, and what could have been provided for them as support? What might have made quite a difference for you all?
Just the support behind.
The government support, I think, was
and the acceptance
an
of,
acceptance,
of what the fellas had been up to.
And I guess the media as well,
Yeah.
because they made it out as a nasty war as well. So it wasn't a popular war. I mean, no war's popular, but it was just, and it was the first media war where everything was coming back instantly. So
Yes, it was on the television, whereas, before it wasn't. And it was more graphic too.
Yes.
So I understand that what's coming up is that you'll be getting to see the original tank, Tank
Yes,
169043.
The very one.
The very one. So that's going to be really exciting. And I just really wish you all the best, and I can't wait for this documentary to come out. It's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
Yes, it's
The
been
whole
great.
thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't need someone to save me, no, and don't come running to blame me. From miles away I can tell that something's off. The way you look and how you pause when you talk, I think I said enough. You said your love for me something brand new. You said this is something